And what it do, folks? It is your boy, Charles Younger here. And thank you for tuning in to Maryland Terrapins Live on the Voice of College Football Network. I am here in my home studio. It is Friday, January 30th, 2026. And it has finally gotten to 20 degrees outside. It is colder than a witch's tit and a brass bra. It is cold, and it's cold too. I think here in the DMV, it's been one heck of a week with both DC, Maryland, and Virginia doing a terrible job of removing the snow. It was like we've had a month to prepare for this winter storm. And as the storm hit, we still weren't prepared. I've seen several videos and posts on social media of how civilized nations who have a competent infrastructure handle stuff like this. Canada, Sweden, the Nordic countries who are used to snow have the correct equipment to remove snow and not, bury cars on the street. But here in the DMV, Alexandria, the bar I work at, Chadwick's, streets were still covered in snow. Cars were buried under the plows. It's embarrassing. Here in my neighborhood, the HOA, for some reason, decided to send someone out to plow some sidewalks at 1:30 in the morning. Luckily, I as a bartender, 1:30 in the morning is not super late for me, but for other people who work early in the morning, that is ridiculous. They've done a piss poor job of accounting for the fact that we're going to get. I mean, the reports were saying it's anywhere from 6 to inches to 2 feet of snow. I believe altogether we got something around 5.5 here, somewhere right there, around there. And still, it's just like they've never seen snow before. It's like impossible for them to understand the concept of pre-salting, pre-treating, having plows out on the road as we ready to road. All the side roads here are terrible. Some roads are not even plowed. The main highways are mostly okay. The interstates are perfectly clear now, but it is 5 days after the fact, and it still looks like no one's even touched a lot of the snow. If you go look outside my place right now, you'll see mountains and mountains of snow. And you know what's funny? I was making a joke of having a flamethrower to help remove the snow. But funny fact, Maryland is the only state where it's illegal to own a flamethrower. How about that? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that ridiculous? Like, what? We can't have a flamethrower? Like, why Maryland of all states get picked up? Not going to understand. You say, hey, if you live in New Jersey, you're not allowed to have a flamethrower. Or if you live in Alabama, you're not allowed to have a flamethrower. Cool. Makes sense. However, if you live in the state of Maryland, you are not allowed to own a flamethrower to melt this snow. But I digress. First, let's get back on track here. First, I want to ask you guys to click that subscribe button, and not only that, click the notification buttons too, because that will let you know when I go live every week with Maryland Terrapins Live at the Voice of College Football. Because don't forget to like and share, and comment as well, because that does help the algorithm, helps me get my voice to the millions and millions of people who want to hear my sexy voice and see my salt and pepper face. I kid. But let's get back on track. For today's show, we will discuss the Maryland, the 2026 Maryland recruiting class, led by 5-star recruit Zion Ely from St. Francis Academy, straight out of Baltimore, Maryland. And in the words of wrestling legend Conan, let me speak on this because we will talk about how these players fit into Maryland's offensive and defensive schemes. And we also talk about some of the where some of the Maryland players will end up in the 2026 NFL draft. And out of the box, I'll talk a little bit about the Royal Rumble coming up tomorrow at 2 p.m. for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on ESPN, or if you have a VPN, allegedly, you can watch it on ESPN on the Netflix app. I know this is a football show. I know we're supposed to talk about Maryland football, but it is my show, and I'm a wrestling fan, so I can talk about what I want. So if you don't like it, keep listening, keep watching. And we'll talk. We'll do a little bit about a preview of Super Bowl LX between the Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots. And back to the wrestling thing, I said there are some great Maryland alumni who became professional wrestlers, and there are some great people from the state of Maryland who are also professional wrestlers or who were professional wrestlers at one point. So, and on that note, let's get this show going and talking about the 2026 Maryland recruiting class. Look at those kids. It's not a large class, but it is a fantastic collection of 3 and 5 star athletes. Well, 1 5-star and several 3-star athletes. Led by Zion Ellie, who is a 5-star edge rusher out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, standing approximately 6'4", 230 pounds. We're going to do a little bit about evaluation of Ellie and what he brings to the table. This is his evaluation according to Hudson Standish from 247 Sports as of last month, December 2nd, 2025. Metaphorically speaking, built in a lab to get after a quarterback, verified near 6'4" and 230 pounds, with elite length and combine testing profile that would be mistaken for a field stretching X receiver with a 4.43 40-yard dash and over 11-foot broad jump. Outside the athletic traits, shows a natural feel for the position, proved to be nearly unblockable during weeks of work at the Under Armour All-American Game and Polynesian Bowl in January 2025, racked up dozens of pressures and sacks, working its national schedule of juniors and seniors. Building blocks include lightning quick first step, closing burst, and ideal reactionary athleticism. Literally explosive and can quickly move gap to gap to chase down ball carriers from the weak side. Motor consistently runs hot, and there might not be a better edge rusher in the 2026 cycle at quickly redirecting and to wrap up evasive quarterbacks. Works as more of a new age speed rusher, but owns the frame to add weight and develop into a more complete product while retaining the tools that make him unique. A bit narrow at his stage in his physical development, but he's only 18. But he owns long levers and is well versed in hand-to-hand combat. Quick hands. Type of a 3-4 outside linebacker who could provide a immediate spark in a P4 front 7 before eventually putting on a show at the NFL Combine, a proverbial freak of nature type with long-term NFL draft first-round upside. Ely has enrolled early and will participate in spring ball, and he is probably considered a can't-miss prospect for the Maryland Terrapins as their defense. And if you take a look at their defense depth chart, I'm looking at it right now. This is they have Big Ten Freshman of the Year, Sidney Stewart, returning at right defensive end. They have they lost Cam Rice and Dylan Fontes. They also have another freshman at right end, in Zaire Mathis. And at the linebacker position, they have Daniel Wingate, who is a rising senior. Trey Reddick, who's a rising sophomore. They have a couple of other freshmen. They have Carlton Smith, who's a who's a 3-star prospect coming out of high school, Keyshawn Flowers. So he adds depth to that rotation of fantastic defensive linemen who, if you watched Maryland play a lot last year, they had great first halves, but seemed to wear down in the second half. Possibly with the addition of Ely and some other guys I'm going to talk about coming up, that defense will not wear down as much in the second half, and they will probably be able to put more pressure on opposing quarterbacks and the Big Ten, who are going to be running for their lives when they see Stewart, Mathis, and Ely pressuring the quarterback. A couple interesting facts about Ely as well when it comes to his recruiting. He turned down the likes of Auburn, South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida State University. He is the composite 5th overall rated player, #1 edge rusher, and obviously #1 prospect coming out of Maryland. Now, Maryland has done a fantastic job. They don't have as many recruits overall, but they do have the best of what they can get in their 3 and 5-star recruits. And everyone is in love with Ely as a can't miss prospect. But there are a few other guys I want to cover you might not know who might be day one starters who can possibly have a huge impact on Maryland's defense moving forward. Darrell Carey is a 3-star safety out of DeMatha Catholic High School. He is a 6'2", 185 pounds. We don't have his measurables of his combine numbers yet, but he has shown in his. If you want to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit of highlights of Darrell Carey, who is a safety and also played wide receiver for DeMatha High, and we're going to bring it up right here in 1 second. And let's go. Oops, remove you, and let's put you up here. Let's add this here, and let's play these highlights. As you can see, he is quick to the ball, making plays on receivers. You see that they do a little telescope there. Look at him right there. He's good watching the zone, reading the play, and he has great closing speed, great pursuit. That's him, number 10 right there. Apparently, he looks like he is probably one of the leaders on the defense, making calls in the backfield, letting players know where he needs to be. And look at that. Okay, he somehow makes a tackle in open field. Great open field tackling. Let's see where we have him lined up here as well. He is playing. Looks like he's playing in the strong safety position. Obviously, this is not the best play of the show, but as you can see from the few of the plays he's made, he is going to be one of the best playmakers for the Maryland Terrapins. Another player we want to talk about here is Cameron Brickle, a 3-star defensive lineman out of IMG Academy out of Florida. 6'2", 305 pounds, adding depth to that defensive line after the departure of Dylan Fontes and Cam Rice. And also Sean Johnson, a 3-star cornerback, 6'1", 175 pounds out of Archbishop Spalding, adding more depth to the defensive backfield, which consists of players who Maryland led the Big Ten in interceptions and pick sixes, but also was burnt constantly in the second half, deep over top by some players. We have returning Jameer Gasker, Le'Veon Scruggs, Braden Lee, Messiah Delhomme, Lloyd Irvin III, Alex Moore, Shamar McIntosh, and Gavin Edwards. Jalen Husky, who has left the team because he's graduating, who will be trying to make a roster on the NFL next year. So a guy like Sean Johnson has the opportunity, and Darrell Carey had the opportunity to step up immediately and be a day one starter for the Maryland Terrapins on opening on when the team takes the field in August. And it's very interesting about this the recruiting class for the University of Maryland, as majority of the first top four recruits are on the defensive side, and that was one of Maryland's weaknesses last year. It was defense of depth and wearing down in the second half. Now, if you want to talk about some of the rest of the recruits, we'll go more into detail of those recruits next week. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the recruits after the top four. We have Javante Williams, who's a tight end from Northwest High School out of Germantown, Maryland. A tight end at 6'4", 220 pounds. A three-star recruit. We have Jamarcus Weiss out of Trotwood Madison out of Dayton, Ohio. A 6'1.5", 265-pound defensive lineman. Also a three-star recruit. Hakeem Satterwhite, cornerback, 6'2", 180 pounds, 3 stars. Also out of St. Francis Academy. Same as Zion Ellie. Damon Hall, another St. Francis Academy player, a tight end at 6'5", 205 pounds, 3-star. Josiah Teasley, a wide receiver out of the St. James out of Springfield, Virginia. Wide receiver, 6'5", 190 pounds, 3-star. Zaire Cobb from St. Adams School at Washington, D.C. Excuse me, St. Albans School out of Washington, D.C., 3-star recruit. A safety at 6'2", 180 pounds. Caden Carter out of Lamar County, which is in Barnesville, Georgia, a linebacker, a smaller linebacker at 6'2", 205 pounds, 3-star recruit. Dejon Moore, an interior offensive lineman at 6'3", 305 pounds, 3 stars out of Willis, Texas. Nathan Bedhard out of Ashland, Ohio, a quarterback, 6'5", 227, 3-star recruit. Jaden Kitchens, a 3-star wide receiver out of the St. James in Springfield, Virginia, 6'2", 6'2.5", 190-pound wide receiver, 3-star recruit. Jesse Moody out of Imhotep Institute out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, offensive tackle, 6'6", 345 pounds, 3-star recruit. Braden Marco out of Gonzaga out of Washington, D.C., a tight end at 6'6", 240 pounds, 3-star recruit. And Johnny Davis out of Bishop McNamara, a edge rusher at 6'1", 230 pounds, a 3-star recruit. On a side note, my cousin, Jonathan Franklin, is a proud alumni of Bishop McNamara High School out of down there in Forestville, Maryland. So go. That's a little family love there. And what I love about this recruiting class, all are 3 stars, and no one is rated lower than an 85 in their composite rating. So we're having a lot of what you consider B and B plus prospects. And Zion Ellie, who is a 98, that's an A plus prospect. So if you do the GPA, that's like a 3.75 GPA right there, if you want to do the math. And that proves the fact that Coach Michael Loxley is, if you look at the class, I've been saying this all week, since this show has been on the air, keeping local talent local, recruiting the DMV, getting the best players from Maryland, from DC, from Virginia. So we have a couple guys coming from Northern Virginia, Nova, as they call it, Northern Virginia. A lot of guys from Baltimore. A couple guys in-house, like, Darrell Carey from DeMatha, which is literally, you can walk from DeMatha to the campus of the University of Maryland. That's how close they are between Hyattsville and College Park. So Coach Loxley is doing a fantastic job of trying to keep his local players local. Now, moving forward after this season, they're going to have to get more than what, 15 commits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 players in the recruiting class from high school. They're going to have to get more than 17 players to sign with this team. They have done a good job of filling the gaps with the transfer portal with several 3-star athletes. And we'll talk more about the transfer portal in weeks to come here on Maryland Terrapins Live at the Voice of College Football. I am your host, Charles Yonga. Like I said, you can follow me across all social media platforms. That's at Charles Yonga. That's CharlesNYonga. And on that note, we're going to switch from guys who are working their way into college to the guys who are working their way into the pros. And that is the 2026 NFL draft, and several Maryland players who are looking to make their way to the next level when it comes to playing football moving forward. Now, this year, the draft class for Maryland doesn't seem as great because there's only 4 or 5 guys who might be able to play on Sunday. And I had what happened to my list of players I had saved. I had the article on Substack. I had lists saved up. Apparently, it got deleted. But I want to talk about these guys first off. And guy I'm looking at is Jalen Husky, who was a leader on defense for the Maryland Terrapins, a safety. I want to go bring up. I have a video of him playing against Michigan State. Some highlights of his game, and we're going to show that highlight right now. And let's get a little full screen here. Let's get a little full screen action here and let's get a little audio here.
To have that one back.
He had his tight end in the flat. He had Michael Masanis that was there. Masanis that was waiting for him ends up deciding
this is one of Maryland's better games defensively, even in a loss to Michigan State, a quite terrible team in the Big Ten. If you want to look at Jalen Husky, he is all over the field. He put on weight in the offseason. He bulked up. He switched from corner to safety. And
Phillips chasing after him. Childs will just get this one away. The ball was caught.
This is a little highlight of a little bit all of Maryland playing defense against Michigan State.
Deep shot for the end zone. Touchdown.
That's not a good look for Jalen Husky, who got beat over top. But we are going to.
A chance to tie the game with the extra point.
But Jalen Husky was also playing injured a lot in this season.
Well, as Childs goes over the middle. Oh, that was dangerously in and out of the hands of Marsh this week. Maryland and Michigan State. Childs trying to extend this drive with under 2 minutes to go in the half. And Velling holds that in. But where do they mark it on the
Husky is a very solid tackler.
Spartans in plus territory. Another.
Husky is a very solid tackler, big, good size. A lot of recruits have him undrafted coming out of college, but he may be able to make a squad sometime soon. Also, we have wide receiver Jaleel Farouk, and Jaleel Farouk had one of his better games here against all season here. So here is a NFL draft highlights for wide receiver Jalen Farouk. This is done by the Big Ten Football. And we're bringing up the screen here, and let's go watch some Jalen Farouk highlights.
First down and 10 in the end zone. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Jaleel Farouk. 25-yard score. How about the throw? Watches Gabriel's going to pump this, and Farouk just gives a bit of a double move right there. It's a slant, and then he's going down the sideline. The corner bites Tommy Hill, and he's wide open right there at the pylon. But again, that ball is just thrown perfectly right in his face mask. You know what the quarterback says to the wide receiver? When it comes over, you throw that. You better throw that ball quickly or else your lineman will be down there. First and 15 to the sideline. Caught. Farouk, who has a touchdown in this game.
Malik Washington has him set. Third and long for Farouk. Fine catch on the sidelines.
Nice read by Malik Washington. He saw it right from the start, knew exactly what the route was, of course, and he stayed with it. And the ball, you got it. Your offense has to be in rhythm.
This is to Farouk with blockers. Farouk inside the 10. First and goal, Maryland.
Nice, easy throws underneath. Easy to make the completions and let your athletes.
As you can see, Jaleel Farouk is a
really nice job at this
good size receiver, 6'1", 205 pounds. Can make people miss. Has decent speed. I think he was quarter around 40 or 4.5.
There by the wide receiver. 4 years at Oklahoma, first year.
You get the ball coming out of half. You got the lead. It's a great play.
Transfer from OU to Maryland, came home to finish his career. He breaks tackles.
Brought down at the 46-yard line, a pick of a 15.
This game was tough to watch though because they had the lead in this game and somehow choked it away.
The Snots is trying to get back to the ball.
Washington looking end zone back corner, sliding play.
Great comeback route. Washington threw it to where only his guy can get it. He went down and got it.
Players, not plays. I love the placement on this football by Malik Washington. Only where my guy can get it. And that
DeJuan Williams, the tailback in the pistol behind Washington. Going to be a quick throw, wide receiver screen. Got a couple of blocks. And down the sideline, best play of the day. That is Farouk with about a 20-yard gain.
6 minutes to go in this one. Martin pass again, hit as he throws, and it's caught. Farouk, touchdown. Score for Farouk. Ball was out there. Got to prove it's a catch first, too. Maryland spreads the ball around. 5 players with 35 or more catches. That's tied for the most in FBS. Washington to throw. 4-man rush for Michigan State. Wide open is Farouk. Farouk out past the 50-yard line before he's shoved out of bounds. Avion Gross on the stop for Michigan State.
Yeah, nice play design there. They had the big bunch over there on the left. Farouk, all big, strong, fast guy going downfield.
Washington looking to the left side. That's where he goes. It's Farouk. Farouk inside the 5, down to the 1. Work to do here.
See, Farouk is going to be one of your physical over-the-middle receivers. He definitely won't be a draft pick, but he might make a roster as an undrafted free agent, and somehow maybe a special teams guy, maybe a 3rd or 4th receiver if he somehow worked his way onto a roster.
Washington, another on-time delivery, another first down for Maryland.
He does have a good enough, make you miss jiggle in his hips to extend the play after the catch.
Coming back to that ball and coming back to the ball.
Hits the ball with his hands, not with his body.
As you can see there, to turn around.
Position himself where he can turn upfield and gain additional yards after the catch.
Yeah, hands on the hips.
Washington scanning the field into the
nice skinny post there.
Just like that, Farouk puts Maryland in the end zone once again, and Washington is letting the defense hear about it. A 24-yard touchdown to Jaleel Farouk.
It's just pace and more pace.
And as you can see,
my car.
Well, and sorry about that. The Cam James popped up too quickly for me to stop it off. But yes, it is interesting where these guys will end up playing on Sunday if they do make a team. And a couple other guys you think I think about is like I said, the 2 guys I'm looking forward to play the most, or possibly playing the most on Sunday in the NFL are Jalen Husky and Jaleel Farouk. And we will go more into the NFL draft and where Maryland players might wind up in next week and for the weeks down the road until the combine, until the draft happens. So after that, let's talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is professional wrestling. And the 2026 Royal Rumble is tomorrow from Real Madrid, from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia at 2 p.m. You can however you want to watch it. It is available to watch. ESPN domestically, Netflix internationally, and the card is very limited. 4 matches. The men's and women's Royal Rumble, which are both 30-person battle royal matches, where you start with two, and every 2 minutes, another competitor joins the fray. And after that, and then once all 30 competitors are in the match, the last person remaining after eliminating all other 29 participants over the top rope and both feet hit the floor, that winner goes on to either main event, which that's not guaranteed the main event, but they will challenge for a world championship of their choosing, either between Monday Night Raw, where the current champion is CM Punk, the Friday Night SmackDown, where the current champion is Drew McIntyre, or NXT, who does not have a champion at the moment because their current champion, their most recent champion, Obafemi, has relinquished his title and will be participating in the men's Royal Rumble match. Two other matches that are on the card are Drew McIntyre defending his WWE Undisputed World Championship against Sami Zayn, who won a number one contenders match on Saturday Night's main event last weekend. And this is his third or fourth attempt to become world champion, and a career-threatening match as one of my all-time favorites, AJ Styles, is challenging Gunther. And if AJ Styles wins, his nearly three-decade career will be over in Saudi Arabia. Really? That's how he's going to go out in Saudi. He's not going to go out in front of the home, an American crowd. He's going to go out in front of a crowd in Georgia. He's going to go out in front of a crowd at Mania. He's going to go out in Saudi Arabia. Blah. But the reason why I want to talk about wrestling is because it's for Maryland, because there are some fantastic Maryland alumni who have become professional wrestlers. One we want to talk about is A.J. Francis, call him Top Dollar, a former defensive tackle for Maryland from 2010 to 2012. After signed with the NFL, then after that he signed as he signed a developmental deal with WWE, became a professional wrestler with a stable called Hit Row, and now he is wrestling with the Total Nonstop Action, which airs Thursday nights at 9 p.m. on AMC. We have Dean Matati, who is known as Mojo Rawley. He had the personality of a overhyped bro. He was defensive tackle for Maryland. Then he became a wrestler for a few years, and now he's gone. He's moved on to other things. Darren Drozoff, the late Darren Droz, also known as Puke. Who, give me quotes, you can puke on command. Defensive tackle for Maryland in the early 90s. Wrestled during the Attitude Era in the late 90s of 2000. And Tehati Miles, known as Ashante the Adonis, a former Maryland football player from 2013 to 2016, who signed with WWE, also a member of the Hit Row stable with Top Dollar AJ Francis, which was also included B-Fab and Isaiah Swerve Scott, also known as Swerve Strickland. A very underrated stable that did not have the opportunity to become as big as it could have been. But the Royal Rumble is this weekend, and I am excited, even though I probably can't watch it because I don't have ESPN Plus, but I will keep up hands with it. And I suggest that you guys, if you are bored and don't have any football to watch, because there is no football this weekend, there's the Pro Bowl, Super Bowl's next week, tune into the Royal Rumble. Give it a shot. You might not like WWE as a company, but the athletes are phenomenal. The performance is phenomenal. The spectacle is phenomenal. Now, I do have a problem with being in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I have a slight ethical issue of contributing to that, but I do want to support the actual competitors, the actual athletes, and AJ Styles is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. Probably the best wrestler of my generation, of a fan growing up, being a fan of this for over 40 years. I mean, best in-ring performer, put him up there with Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, when it comes to in-ring tacticians, in-ring athletes who can put together a fantastic match, make it look believable, and make it exciting for all fans to watch. But speaking of football, we're going back to football here. And my final thoughts are going to be a pre prediction for the Super Bowl. Actually, I'm not going to go into prediction yet. I'm going to do more of just my thoughts on the Super Bowl coming up and how a Maryland Terrapin, Stephon Diggs, is going to the Super Bowl, baby. The highest rated Maryland Terp ever, I believe. Stephon Diggs. I think he was like until Zion Illy decided to sign his name on the dotted line, was the highest rated prospect coming out of high school who signed with Maryland. He is leading, and Drake May, a North Carolina prospect, quarterback, going to Super Bowl. The Patriots dynasty appears to be back. I don't know how I feel about that because I thought we were done with the Chiefs. As an Eagles fan, I'm upset that we didn't go further this year. I was rooting for, if the Eagles didn't make it, I was going to probably root for, I don't know, maybe I had no clue I wanted to root for after the Eagles if they didn't make it far, but it was not. It was not. I guess the Seahawks are fine. I'm going to keep it a bird. I'm going to root for the Seahawks because the three teams I was going to root for, they all make the playoffs with the Eagles, the Ravens. The Ravens didn't make the playoffs. And now I'm going to keep it with the bird. I'm going with the Seahawk because I could see former Jets do well. And Sam Darnold, who was the third overall pick in the same draft as Lamar Jackson, thrown aside by the New York Jets. And we've seen what happens to quarterbacks who leave the Jets, go somewhere else, and become successful. Geno Smith had a terrible year this year, but he has been a Pro Bowler a couple of times since leaving the Jets. Sam Darnold had to make his trip down to Carolina, made his trip over to San Francisco, and finally got an opportunity to, even though it was because of injury, became a starting quarterback again with Minnesota Vikings. Pro Bowl, 13 wins. Minnesota's like, no, we're gonna go with 9. JJ McCarthy, and that was a mistake. Sam Darnold went to Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, the 12 up there, and has led that team to another 13-win season, back-to-back 13-win seasons for two different teams, and he is now in the Super Bowl. The only quarterback from that 2018 draft class with Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, and Lamar Jackson. He's the first one of that draft class to make the Super Bowl. And that is pretty interesting because the fact that if you saw him play with the Jets, you say this guy is not good. He's awful. But there is one common denominator when it comes to the Jets quarterbacks, and that is the Jets are a terrible franchise. They are pathetic. They're awful. They are. If you do what they do in like Premier League soccer, relegate a team for being just terrible, it's a tie between who's the worst franchise, and that's the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. It is a tie. And for all those Jets fans out there who, I admire your loyalty. I admire the fact that you stick with this team through good and bad, mostly bad. Same with the Browns fans. It's amazing how these teams are still. This makes me realize it doesn't require much work to be a billionaire or have to be that smart or that talented or that skilled or anything about you that says because you're a billionaire, you're good at your job. Because a billionaire owns the Jets. He's terrible at his job. A billionaire owns the Browns. He's terrible at his job. But somehow they're constantly making money because the NFL is the number one sports league in the United States. And that basically means all you got to do is wake up in the morning, you're making money. And I found that despicable. But that's an argument for another day. But back to my point about the Super Bowl. Stephon Diggs, Maryland Terrapin in the Super Bowl. How do you feel about that, folks? How do you feel about that? Talk to me. You can reach me and call me at Charles Young at CharlesNYONGA. And this is the voice of college football. This is Maryland Terrapins Live. Stephon Diggs, he's playing on a team I don't want to win, so I'm kind of torn about how I feel about the Super Bowl. I want him to do well, but the team to lose. Because I can't stand the fact that the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl again. This is what their 11th Super Bowl appearance. See, 100 Parcells, 900 Belichick, and then now one more under Mike Vrabel. 11 Super Bowl appearance, number one franchise of all time. So I guess you can say they're America's team because the Patriots have been in 11 Super Bowls since the Dallas Cowboys have been to their last one. That's pathetic. No, wait, this is their 12th Super Bowl appearance. I forgot the one against the one against the 86 Bears. They got dogged walk. So that's 85 86 Patriots, 84 85 Patriots made the Super Bowl. That's one. Then Bill Parcells made it. That's two. And then there is the 9 with Belichick and Brady. And then so that is 12 Super Bowl appearances for the New England Patriots franchise. That is ridiculous. 6 Super Bowl championships, could possibly be a 7th one this year, and they are America's team. They're the best run franchise in all of NFL, probably all of American sports. 12 championship appearances in my lifetime. I was born in 1979. The Patriots have been in the Super Bowl 12 times since I was been born, more than any other team. Let's talk about that too. Hit me up at Charles Yonga, CharlesNYONGA. But today's show is going to be ending quickly because I do have some errands to run. The snow is still on the ground, but I can still get out there and take care of some business. So this is Maryland Terrapins Live. I am your host, Charles Yonga. This is the voice of College Football Network. Tune in next week when we get to talk a little bit more about the Maryland recruiting class, the transfer portal, who and where I think Maryland players will play in the next level in the NFL draft. And I might talk about my feelings of the Royal Rumble because it is my show. I talk about what I want, even though it's the Maryland Terrapins football show. And I will do my official Super Bowl predictions coming up. I can't give you a score. I just want to say I'm excited about this Super Bowl because history's going to be made either way. The Patriots dynasty is back. Sam Darnold's epic storyline of going from first round bust to Super Bowl champion, and Stephon Diggs, Maryland Terrapin in the Super Bowl. So for that, folks, I am Charles Yonga. This has been Maryland Terrapins Live here on the Voice of College Football. Follow me again at Charles Yonga, CharlesNYONGA. Don't forget, click that subscribe button, click the notification button to know when I'm going live next. Like, comment, share, help build the algorithm, and let this voice, this beautiful radio voice, and this salt and pepper smile, and my lemon pepper steppers to make it to the next level of YouTube podcasting. Again, this is Charles Yonga, CharlesNYONGA, from Maryland Terrapins Live here on the Voice of College Football.